Today's video is not sponsored by Skillshare or Squarespace. Well, I've been in creative burnout since 2 months before the last video was posted. So that would be like January. We've all heard the terms: burnout, creative block, stuck in a rut,
Get out quick.
etc. Here's the weird thing. In the past, creative burnout meant completely shutting down creatively. Not taking photos.
No!
No video.
No!
No posting.
No!
For months.
God, please, no!
This go around, I've still been creating at a slow pace and not producing or publishing any of the work.
No!
Multiple projects have the heavy lifting done, i.e. I've gone out, made photos, and videoed the process, standing in the middle of the road. Dude, look at the work that Chris is producing over here. I think it's the smell of cocaine.
Oh, and that rocket is blasting down this course, Tina. Oh, yes!
Okay, standing in the freeway again. You see this, JK? Finding your shots, bro. All that's left is the producing and publishing. And there the videos sit, with me wondering where to start. I don't get it. It's the total opposite of past burnout periods. I'm hoping that documenting this round of burnout will help get myself over the hump, as well as you if you're stuck in a creative rut as well. If you aren't stuck, congratulations. I'm also very jealous of you. Let us know in the comments how you avoid and or get around or through creative burnout. Life's too short and there's too much cool stuff to create and share, so let's break down creative burnout by answering a few questions. What is creative burnout? How do we get here? And how do we get back to creating? What is creative block? According to AskJeeves.com, which apparently now is just Ask.com, that's how long it's been since I've used Jeeves, a creative block is, well, sponsored by Skillshare ads on how to get through burnout. You can't make this stuff up, kids. Based on the additional search results and related searches, I don't think old Jeeves is doing so well. Let's get some real answers. Anyway, if we do a quick search on Google, we find that according to the Interactive Design Foundation, creative blocks are periods of time where reduced creative thinking and productivity occur. These blocks can be caused by mental health, depleted energy levels, stress, lack of knowledge, and or fear of failure. What was that? Depleted energy levels? Let's dig a little deeper. Interactive Design Foundation continues by saying, poor sleep habits, unhealthy lifestyle choices, plus long periods of intense work can drain the energy reserves inside a person, therefore impacting how able a designer is able to work or think creatively. Interesting. How do we get burned out? ChristinaGrieve.com shares 10 causes of creative burnout. 1. Overwork and excessive pressure to perform. 2. Lack of rest between work and personal life. 3. Perfectionism and self-imposed expectations. 4. Creating for only business, not for personal joy. 5. Repetitive or uninspiring tasks. 6. Stressful life events or transitions. 7. Negative feedback or criticism from yourself or others. 8. Feelings of inadequacy or imposter syndrome. 9. Physical and mental exhaustion. 10. Underlying health issues or chronic stress. And, for a bonus, and because it's also a major factor in this current round of burnout, here's number 11. Procrastination. Keep in mind, this list doesn't have every cause of burnout on it. If there is a factor you've experienced that's not on the list, please share it with us in the comments. The more causes we identify, the easier it is to get back on track. How do we get through burnout? Now that we've identified what creative burnout is and some causes, what do we do about it? Let's do those 10 causes again and see what applies. Feel free to do this exercise for yourself and write down the causes affecting you so you can work through your own burnout if that's what you're currently going through. The main ones I'm currently struggling with are overwork and self-imposed pressure to perform, lack of rest, physical and mental exhaustion, stressful life events and transitions, and finally, procrastination. Look at that, boys and girls. We've now identified problem areas. We're making progress. Now we know where to focus and make improvements. Let's jump right into the nitty-gritty and dig deeper into those problem areas and see what can be done to solve them. Problem number 1. Overwork and self-imposed pressure to perform. I define overworking as not resting or recovering enough from the current level of mental and physical output. Since October of 2024 till the time of writing the script, I've not been sleeping enough. Over this period of time, I've continually expended more energy than I've recovered physically, and I'm burning myself out. Here's an interesting analogy. What happens if you don't charge your phone? It doesn't work. What happens if you only charge your phone to 10%? It doesn't last all day.
No, I'm fine. A couple hard sniffs and a spit and I'll be good. Okay, that's a no-go.
Can you see where this is going? Our bodies work the same way. Without enough rest, we aren't able to operate at full output, which over time leads to burnout. Self-imposed pressure to perform. As creators, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to produce and share our work. Keeping this pressure in check is a whole video in and of itself. If that's something you'd be interested in hearing more about, let me know down in the comments. Problem number 2, lack of rest. We just talked about this, so I'll keep it short. Without enough rest, we aren't able to operate at full output, which over time leads to burnout. Problem number 3, physical and mental exhaustion. Again, to keep this simple, I haven't been recovering enough for the current amount of output. Poor recovery has led to constant fatigue, which has led to, you guessed it, burnout. Problem number 4, stressful life events/transitions. There were 2 stressful life transitions that happened in the past year that definitely had an effect on creative output. These events were not directly related to creativity, but the strain and mental capacity required to navigate through them definitely affected creative output, and in addition, added to the physical and mental exhaustion from problem area number 3, lack of rest from problem area number 2, and overworking from problem area number 1. Are you starting to see how these problem areas are feeding into each other? Now I can. It starts with one that leads to another, and over time, if nothing is changed, leads to another. And more problems.
That food was all very salty.
We've now identified how the problem areas are negatively affecting output, so how do we solve them? Luckily, the solution for problems 1 to 3 is pretty simple. More sleep. That's what I've been working on, kind of, as well as taking better care of myself. I've been getting back into the gym, eating more whole foods rather than processed food, and less eating out. A quick update and reminder for myself, recovery from months of inadequate sleep doesn't happen in a few days. It takes time. How much time? I don't know yet. I haven't recovered enough to know. I do know an incredible amount of patience and consistently getting enough sleep is required. The solution to problem number 4 is a little more complicated, so to keep it simple, the solution has required professional help from a therapist. I'm not certified, but I can say there are instances where talking to a therapist, coach, or a consultant can make a big difference in your progress. If you're on the fence about doing something like this, it is worth looking into. What's the solution to procrastination? The simple answer is to take action. There's a great video on beating procrastination by Leila Hormozi. She recommends asking yourself the following questions.
Is this going to make my life easier or harder in the long term if I do it today? Is Leila gaining the skill of speaking in front of thousands of people a good thing? We think that we have to take this giant leap. Now, when I've learned that if I develop a framework that breaks a large task down into small steps, I'm much more likely to be able to do it. Does putting off this task help or hurt me in terms of getting to my goal? Is this the best thing for me to be working on in the short term and long term? How do I give myself more intermittent reinforcement to keep myself engaged on this task?
Just a quick side note, I used the above questions as well as tip number 3, how can I break this action into smaller steps to help complete this video. Here's how I answered the above questions. Is writing the script for this video going to make my life easier or harder if I do it today? Answer, easier. Is gaining the skill, getting through burnout, a good thing? Answer, yes. How can I break this action into smaller steps? Answer, start a script with a rough outline, fill in details as the outline progresses, revise the script, record video, edit, post. Does putting off this task, creating the video, help or hurt me in terms of getting to my goal? Answer, hurts. Is this the best thing for me to be working on in the short term and long term? Answer, yes. It keeps the channel growing. How can I give myself more reinforcement? Answer, realizing that the strain of letting video projects pile up is much worse than the positive feelings that come from working on and completing videos. Thanks for these tips, Leila. If you're struggling with being creative, here's a few tips from an article published on masterclass.com. Joy Harjo writes that adding experimentation to your workflow, changing your environment, taking a break, finding inspiration from other artists, and writing out what's on your mind are different ways that can help spark creativity. Just a quick note, I've used experimentation. I've been finding inspiration from other artists and doing a lot of journaling during this burnout period, and it's made a positive difference. During this burnout period, I've been heavily inspired by Ken Block. And honestly, I think this is the main driver, pun intended, of why I haven't completely stopped creating like in burnout periods of the past. I watch the work that Ken and Hoonigan's produced, and it just fires me up. I know it doesn't sound like it, but burnout. Their work does fire me up. The art, their vehicles, the branding, and their videos, especially the Gymkhana series, they're awesome. Check this out. How can you not be inspired after watching this? This inflow of inspiration has led to experimenting with creating digital art, fresh logos, but you can't see. Fresh logo. New video editing techniques, fresh ideas for future videos. This is the coolest car in here, by far. This is crazy. Crazy. And some solid advice from Ken.
You know, I really believe in hard work. I believe in hard work, positivity, helping people, working hard yourself, that nobody's going to just give you anything. A lot of times you need to go out and find any and every avenue to try and be successful and never give up. For me, it's always pushing that mindset of being creative and doing it in a positive way and doing it in a very fun way. For me, the simple legacy is I hope I just inspire other people in a positive way. to really go out and live their dreams.
The point here is, if you're burned out, finding a source or sources of inspiration can help keep your creativity flowing, or it can spark new creativity. Outro. So, does any of this information help? How can we tell if these principles work? Well, it's been over 2 months, 3 months, since I've completed a video, and you're currently watching this one, so there's that. Another thing to note, the time you're in a burnout phase can vary. Sometimes it's days, weeks, months. That's where I'm at. Hopefully it doesn't turn into years. The point is, the smallest movement forward is still progress, even if it seems insignificant. It's better than not moving at all, or even worse, regressing. Forward movement continues to build, you feel the positive change, and I believe this is what ultimately gets you out of burnout. Also, here's a journal entry from about a month and a half ago when I was working on this script. It goes like this. I went to the gym last night after missing 42 days in a row. That action alone has made a world of difference. The way I feel now compared to the day before is a complete 180. Also, this script was written over weeks, months, while making these improvements. There's been a noticeable shift towards the positive and getting back on track. However, some days have been extremely difficult. It hasn't been an easy process, but I do know it's worth working through to get back to being myself again. Another knowledge nugget I've heard since writing this script and before recording this video was from Hormozi.
Sometimes progress is the W. Like maintaining in some seasons is winning.
That was a big eye-opener. So I'm maintaining at the gym and maintaining content by filming even though I haven't been posting. Am I completely out of this phase of burnout? No. But I can see how actively working towards getting back on track has done more in a relatively short period of time than just sitting around and wallowing in the discomfort. I'll take the advice shared here and continue working through this phase of burnout and hopefully get through the next one a little quicker. If something shared in this video resonates with you, document it in some way and save it for next time you find yourself in a creative rut. You might find yourself getting unstuck a little quicker, and that's awesome. My friend TikTok Garage shared some words of encouragement recently that I'd like to share with you. He said, start speaking positivity in your life. Change the way you think. Change the way you speak. I'm tired too, brother, but we have dreams to chase. Stay strong. Thank you for being one of my best friends, Steve. I really appreciate your friendship, your support, your help, and for being such a positive influence on so many people. Thanks, brother. The last thing I'll share is another gem from Hormozi.
There's usually a step back that must be taken in order to take steps forward. The only guaranteed thing is that if you never take that step back, you will never get the outsized return of taking the steps forward.
This piece of knowledge hit like a freight train. And it's been a long time since I've read that because it's taken so long to get this script recorded. So I'm going to keep it in the back of my mind during this time as it is a reminder that struggle and setbacks are a feature of growth and not a bug. Thanks to Chris Williamson for that little insight.
I hope that helps you if you're dealing with some stresses and problems.
Again, if you have any tips on getting through or staying out of burnout, please share your experiences in the comments. It'd be fantastic if your experience can help somebody else out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
I hope I just inspire other people in a positive way to really go out and live their dreams.